Hey, what's the deal, YouTube? It's your girl, Miss Honey. Welcome back to the channel, kids. Welcome back to the channel. You guys already know why we're here. We are dolled up and done up, baby, for power, honey. Book 2, Ghost. Okay. And I have been inundated with reality TV, these housewives and things of this nature. So I actually was salivating a little bit at the fact that here we are, December 6th, and it is time for the mid-season to resume. Mid-season break is over. This season 1, episode 6 resumes today, and I'm so excited to bring you guys the review. I'm going to try to do things a little bit differently here. Like I said, I salivated. At this point, I've forgotten all about. It's like I have pregnancy brain or something about power. I've forgotten all about my frustrations for the first half of this season, and I am at this moment fully committed to give you guys authentic Miss Honey review here. So we're gonna talk about some stuff. We're gonna pick away at a couple of scabs, and then talk a little bit more deeper down below, because I feel like blowing through these reviews for some of these shows is like underestimating you guys. Like, you guys have deep thought about little things that you see. I'm not saying the whole show, but little things that you see, you kind of unpack it, compartmentalize it. And so I want us to discuss those things, not those glaring scabs that we, anybody could be talking about, right? Like, they ain't, but anybody could be talking about those things. Honey, those things are a given. Let's go deeper, children. Let's go deeper. Okay. So this episode is called Good versus Evil. And I started really kind of thinking about it. Everyone's like, oh, Tariq is just like his dad, but he's a little bit different. I think Tariq is on that cusp of being either good or going in this really evil way, like his dad did. Ghost, James, well, turned out to be quite an evil character, didn't he? Even though we loved him the first, 3 seasons, he had a certain sex appeal, a certain swagger about him, darling. But we found out by the end of that chapter that he was quite evil. James had limited emotions, right? Like, he had a good handle on those emotions. He had his feelings towards Angela, but in terms of who he could cut off beyond that, even his best buddy Tommy, he didn't have a lot of emotions about that. We saw in season 1 where James just shot his one of his good friends, one of his best friends, like shot him dead. Like, so he's able to get those emotions in check. That's one of the ways that lent to his evil, one of the things that lent to his evilness. And he had resources. He had resources that moved on his behalf. Okay, so a lot of the frantic ripping and running that we see Tariq doing, James didn't necessarily have to do, because he had pawns. He had a lot of figures on the board that could move on his behalf, right? So he didn't have to be present for every situation that was going on. And he had this foresight that was fueled by experience. He had been burned. He had been betrayed. He had seen how people's own best interest ultimately at the end of the day was going to always supersede his. He knew people that he had to go ahead and get rid of. He couldn't second chance them, that type of thing. That comes along with a certain amount of experience. Tariq doesn't have any of that experience yet. Not saying that he's not a smart kid. He is smart like his daddy, but he doesn't have these things. He doesn't have the resources. He doesn't have this limited emotional spectrum where he's not, he still cares. And James had just gotten to this place where he just didn't give a duck. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can get it too, Tasha. Okay? Had her all up in the kitchen cabinet. Y'all remember that? And of course, the experience. Tariq just has not lived. He just has not lived long enough to have any measure of experience as it pertains to seeing these glaring signs of betrayal, seeing these glaring signs of situations that's probably going to come back to not only bite him in the butt, but probably his mom and also his business, right? So having said that, let's start with Tasha. Tasha has her case starting soon. She has a court date coming up, and we don't get to see a lot of Tasha in this episode. We do get to see Davis and Stacks, and they are colluding and cohorting to pick the jury, and they are skewing this jury to go in Davis's favor, right? Because as soon as Tasha gets off, it is Stack's hope that he will arrest Tariq for the murder of his dad. And you know, this was going to solidify Stacks in the attorney's office, in the United States Attorney's Office, right? And then of course it will also solidify a win for Davis. So they appear to be working together. And people are on to them, but they just don't know what they're on to. Like, the judge notices how amicable they are during the jury selection. You know, it's quite obvious if you pick someone who is skewed towards Davis and against Stacks. You'd think that Stacks would want to ask this individual out as a juror, but instead he accepts it. Davis accepts it. They're working together, right? And Tasha wanted to take a plea, but Davis was like, nah, don't take a plea, because a plea is not a win for him, right? And you gonna thwart all of these plans, so he's not letting her do it. Now, she lets Tariq know this, and she's suspicious, and Tariq should be suspicious, but because he's not suspicious, it doesn't really fuel her suspicion per se. And so she's like, okay, maybe I will let it go. Tariq seems like he's got it all in control. Like, is Tariq even 18 yet? Like, I don't. But anyway, yeah. So like I said, they want Tariq. Stacks wants Tariq as their number one defendant / suspect in James's murder, and it's unbeknownst to Tariq. Although again, Tasha begins to suspect something, but just like the lawyer, just like Paula, just like the judge, just like Paula, Davis's partner, and Ott, who is supposed to be puppet master of this whole Stacks setup, they suspect something. Like, this isn't right. Like, why is everybody so calm? Like, it shouldn't be going this direction. We should be in a better position, that type of thing. And everybody's being poo-pooed by Stacks and Davis because they're working together. Again, they all know something's up. They just can't quite put their finger on what that is. Okay, we also, as it pertains to Tasha, get to see Blanca show up again, as well as Francis Johnson, aka 2-Bit. And you guys know 2-Bit is still in jail. Before the season of the book, the chapter, I guess that's book 1, Power, went off. Blanca was working to have, get 2-Bit and a couple of other people as informants against James, yes, but mostly against Stacks. But now she really has a bee in her bonnet against Stacks, but she's working with Davis to do that. So separately from Stacks, they work with 2-Bit, who has refused to testify on Stacks' behalf. Davis talks him into it with the help of Blanca and the hopes that he will get off, but it will also help them identify Tariq, because 2-Bit is how they're going to bring the conversation of Tariq up to the jury and up to the judge in hopes to get to portray this idea of doubt that Tasha is a kingpin. Like, it's really Tariq we should be looking at, and 2-Bit is key to that. So Davis uses Blanca because she has a bone to pick with Stacks, And Blanca uses 2-bit because she has a pawn to pick with Stacks, and it gives him basically freedom, walking papers, to get out of there if he will help them. Now, initially, 2-bit realizes he's helping Stacks, but in this moment, when Davis and Blanca come and talk to him separately, he sees it as an opportunity to get out, not only get out, but to give it to Stacks as well. Like, nobody is thinking about Stacks. So yeah, he's not the wiser. He's not the wiser as to how they're going to lead him in questioning and eventually get him to say, yeah, that he did not for sure. That's the only thing he knows for sure, is that he cannot say that Tasha is a kingpin, that Tasha was ever involved, that he ever knew that Tasha was in drugs. You know, this is 2-bit. But he is definitely going to confirm that he knows Tariq. Yeah. So that's that whole piece. Also, we see where Stacks' niece, what is her name? Stacks' niece's name is it'll come to me, but Stacks' niece is still messing around with Tariq's roommate, Brayden. And she claims she's in love, even though I think it's only been like 72 hours or something like that, like 3 or 4 days since we've Ghost has been shot and buried, and Tariq had a birthday and one trial and one, like, a lot has happened in like these 3 or 4 days. But she is somehow fallen in love with Brayden, and throughout this episode, it's pushed that you guys are always together. You guys are always together. Brayden and this niece are always together. Like, always together, always together. She's so untrustworthy. She, Stacks want her to stay away from Tariq and the whole Brayden situation. She insists that she's in love with Brayden. And Stacks also let on that Tariq may be a part of a criminal empire, which puts another bee in her bonnet. And this bee gets sent off in the direction of Tariq. So let's talk about Tariq. Tariq is in class early when he gets a call from Tasha explaining to him how she's been told by Davis, her lawyer, to move. He's got to deal with that, but more importantly, he's in class on time. He's ready for whatever discussion they're about to have. And it just so happens to be this discussion about, I think, Locke and Hobbes. It's this discussion of good and evil, if people are inherently bad or are they inherently good. Are like base model, like fundamentally are people good or fundamentally are people bad. Now, I think it's confusing for some people, because to say that you're out for self does not make you fundamentally bad. Like, you can do things that are in your best interest and be doing good. Good can be in your best interest as well. I think it's just not, the two are just generally not associated. Like, working for your own best interest is not considered good per se. It's weird. It's weird how we're set up as humans, but I digress. So if you're working in your own best interest, you must be doing something bad, or you must do something bad in order for that to happen. I just don't necessarily agree with that. But it's a great discussion that they have in class. We get to hear from Lauren and Epiphany. We get to hear from, I think that's her name, Epiphany, some other student actors there. It's a great discussion. It's great banter. And the question is posed to Tariq about, what does he think about people being inherently good or ultimately fundamentally bad? And does he feel that he is good, or does he feel that he's fundamentally bad? Like, how does his opinion play into his own perspective of who he is as an individual? Which he does answer the question regarding are people fundamentally good or bad, but he never says if he feels definitively what he feels about himself, okay? Tariq always seems like he is aware, but at the same time, he's unaware. You get what I'm saying? Like, he's completely oblivious of the little foxes. He is so busy trying to get this money, as well as trying to get his mom off and trying to get out of school, like trying to get out of school so he can get this money so he can, help his mom and his sister and his grandma, right? And hopefully put this whole thing behind him. I don't know if Tariq ultimately has goals beyond being a drug dealer. We never hear about him wanting to be a surgeon or even being a businessman like his dad. We don't know if his goals are going to stop here at drug kingpin. We don't know. But these are the things that he's focused on, as opposed to being able to keep his head on swivel like his dad did, and watch all of these little foxes too. And we're going to talk about these little foxes now. So, like I said, Tariq seems to be aware and somehow unaware all at the same time. He's juggling the ladies, which speaks to the him being unaware in a sense. Kane is on the rampage about his sister Diana. He has gotten this idea in his head thanks to conversation that he's had with his mom and Drew and Diana, which we're going to talk about, that Tariq is hooking up with Diana sexually. And because he has so little control with what's going on in his family, outside of being the bulldog, being the muscle, he's not considered as this person you go to as the voice of reason and that type of thing. He's decided that he's going to go over to Tariq and exude this type of power over Tariq as it pertains to his sister. Tariq is unaware of any of this. He is not even remotely aware of any of this, right? And so, continuing on with the little foxes piece, we see where Riley is the niece's name, is Stack's niece's name, and Tariq comes in after seeing Lauren. Now, after class, she had left a scarf or something, so he takes it over to her room. And as another little fox, another little distraction, things get kind of hot and heavy and heated between the two of them. She is holding him to task about the fact that he's always making these little Freudian slips about having secrets or secrecy. He continues to have these little Freudian slips because deep down inside, we know Tariq has one hell of a secret, the fact that he shot and killed his own daddy. But she doesn't know this, okay? Of course, she just knows that he is always somehow slipping up and referencing secrets or secrecy. And she also points out the fact that he didn't answer whether he thought he was inherently good or evil. Now, Tariq plays the game, cat and mouse game with these ladies, you know what I'm saying? You answer a question with a question, like you hit the ball back in her court and it turns into this intimate moment. But in that moment, her boyfriend, Malcolm, comes up to the door and he begins immediately to chastise her about where she's been and the fact that she forgot that he was coming up for the weekend and just yada yada yada, like he her daddy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's this whole thing. It's this whole dynamic with men and women where they want to be both your father and your lover, right? Like your man and your daddy all at the same time. He's telling her he thinks that she should come up to the college where he is. That way he can keep an eye on her and she can be regulated and controlled and kept in line. You know what I'm saying? It's this sort of passive aggressive type control where, little lady, you don't know as much as you think you know. I'm smart enough for the both of us. If you just let me make your decisions, your life will be perfect, right? According to me. Tariq interrupts that moment, lets the dude know he's there, and she says he was like, Malcolm was like, well, you spend a lot of time here. He was like, Malcolm thought his name was Jamal. My name is Tariq, dude, and I just came by to drop something off for your girl, and then puts his hand on Lauren's shoulder. Everybody knows touching a person is the sign of intimacy. We've talked about that before. It's also to let Malcolm know, yeah, like I came to drop something off, like off. I came to give her something, all right. Yeah. Yeah, it's cute. All of this is going on with Tariq. And unbeknownst to him, his roommate, meanwhile, and his brother Trace have gotten kidnapped, pimped, and rescued right up under Tariq's nose while he's dealing with these little foxes. Speaking of little foxes, he gets back to his room. And when he gets back to his room, he finds, guess who there? Okay, he finds Riley there going through his things, and she gives him a myriad of reasons why she's on his side of the room going through his things. Brayden is gone. They can't find Brayden. He shoots each one of her excuses down, but at the same time, he doesn't have this measure of suspicion or aggression towards Riley that he should. He should. And I question this scene. It went on way too long. Tariq ends up spending the entire episode with Riley playing like a chess game, and I just didn't understand it. I really I'm confused by it, even though Tariq is a killer, yes. But he's not naturally abrasive. He's not naturally aggressive. His dad, James, had this quiet aggression. James, Mari Hardwick's character, had this way of walking up into your space and letting you know, like, I don't let this suit and this fine cologne fool you. Don't let this straight line on this beard fool you. I will snap your neck up in this mugga dugga, right? Tariq don't have that. He doesn't have that energy. He still got like this what's for lunch mom type mentality, and we see that as it relates to Riley. He basically lets her push him around in this whole scenario. He doesn't push the fact that she is in his room and in his things. He doesn't push the fact that he has this there is this simmering suspicion as it pertains to her. He doesn't at all, and he lets her control the scene, and ends up giving her way too much information unbeknownst to him, either by leaving his phone alone. She ends up, he's outside the door talking to someone. His phone rings. She takes her phone and takes a picture of his phone, with the message pop up on it. Like, you would think that drug dealers would move a little bit differently, just naturally suspicious anyway, no matter who his dad is, but apparently not, right? We see where he has this detailed conversation about what's going on and how he's running the drug game right outside the door with her. He refuses to ask her to leave. We ask her to leave. She refuses to leave. He refuses to make her leave. You know what I'm saying? Just getting her arm and getting her out of there. I don't know if he's doing it because she's one of those individuals. Like, he doesn't want her to be this squeaky wheel. If he's afraid, if he's naturally trusting of her because she's one of the others. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Like, was Tariq taking it easy, and was he being naive with her and easy going with her because she wasn't, somebody he would consider to be trouble? Why doesn't he consider her to be trouble? Maybe it's his upbringing. Maybe it's all the sheltering. But I'd be more suspicious of her than I was of anybody else. And y'all know what I'm saying when I say that, right? Okay. So yeah, little foxes. Let's move ahead. We're going to talk a little bit more about what happened with Brayden and Trace. But first, we got to talk about Monet. Now, Monet is on a tirade. She is trying to rein in Diana and Drew because they spend all their time down at Stanford. And she feels like it's pulling them away from the business. It's pulling them away from the little details. It's definitely pulling Diana away from learning how to hoe. Properly hoe in order to get that shmoney and get control over men with shmoney, right? even though she's sending them down there, she's sending them on these errands, they're getting sidetracked. They're getting pulled in. They're becoming a part of, as opposed to just going, getting the information and getting out, right? So she wants them to go down to the bar and count the money and the dope down there and do some work. Like she feels like they being she been too soft on them. They keep mentioning this dude Owl, which I'm sure obviously we're gonna see Owl again at some point, or more of Owl at some point. Owl and Tommy are two names that kind of keep coming up, so I got a sneaky suspicion if they don't both show up in this season, in this book, definitely the start of the next book, we're probably going to see a little bit more of Tommy for sure, but maybe even Owl too. You know, I just kind of pay attention to hearing names over and over again. Like, you know, at this point, something going on with that, right? Coffee. Okay, so at the same time, Kane is sitting there at the table, and this is one of the first times I think I'm looking at Woody's character with a little bit more sex appeal, with a little bit more affection, right? He's got on a black turtleneck, you know, like up in here area, and he's beautiful and chocolatey, and he doesn't seem as menacing. He doesn't have on one of those bubble jacket hoodies that screams AKA 47, I'm about to shoot this mug up. He looks a little bit more laid back, a little bit more intellectual, but he's still the same angry Kane. He wants to know why they're going down there to handle this business, like what's going on. He feels like Monet's making moves, even though she's mama and in charge, while his daddy Lorenzo is in jail. He wants to know why this hasn't been run by him, run past him. What is going on between the two of them? And so Monet is chastising Drew and Diana and giving them what for, and he wants to jump in on it. He wants to say, no, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go down with Drew and we're going to yada yada yada, and Diana, you're going to yada 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 yada. And Monet is like, I'm in charge of this. You sit there and do this, what I'm telling you to do, whatever that is. You know, basically just cleaning his gun and shining his knives up, you know what I'm saying? Polishing his spears. You know, he's a warrior, right? So, like I said, Kane kind of assumes that he's the husband. It's these weird dynamics, right? Like, I think males are naturally torn between being warrior and protector and husband, leader, and father. You know what I'm saying? All of these things are present, and then they war with these different sides of themselves. Just like women, I think, war with this idea of being feminine, but also tough and strong and resilient, and but also being mothers and having this softer side, having this kinder, more emotional side. There's this war going on there. Well, he is her oldest son, but he has been put in this position physically where he's been told you're in charge now that your dad is gone. He's not really in charge. I mean, he's in charge of the muscle, but only in the execution of things. He's not in charge really of the formulation of plans. And we don't know that Kane could even handle this because he is so emotional and he is so angry and he is being led around by his nose. His idea of what's really happening and what's really going on here in terms of his position is completely different than his mom and his dad and his siblings. His siblings are afraid of him, but for different reasons. I mean, they both kind of poo-poo him and try to play it out like it's no big deal, but they both have this measure of fear. I mean, for Drew, I think, is physically afraid of Kane. it comes out that Drew has not, although Monet knows and Diana knows that Drew is gay, Kane obviously does not know. And I think this is because Drew is afraid of Kane's physical anger, right? I think Diana is more afraid of Kane's angry actions. Okay, she not afraid of Kane. Boy, get your hands off me. You don't tell me what to do. Mind your business. Because he assumes that when Monet makes this reference about them spending more time down at the school and being in the bed with folks, she talking about Drew being in the bed with Everett. Because Drew done fell in love down there at the school in 1.2 seconds with Everett and want to give Everett his whole heart. Like, he wants to get 2 poodles and some comfortable sweaters with Everett, baby, and they want them to sit on the front porch. Okay, he wants them to go from 0 to longtime friends and lovers. Basically, that's what he want, right? It don't necessarily fit into Everett's goals, but that's no big deal. But Kane thinks that she's referencing Diana sleeping with Tariq. So when he gets kind of sort of physically aggressive, I mean, it's just a thump, but he hits Drew hard enough, like, speak up. That Drew is like, oh, and it reminds Drew, get the hell on for this thing with Kane goes south and you end up with your jaw broken. And Diana blows him off because she not even finna discuss the fact her relationship with Tariq. I didn't sleep with him, but if I did, it wasn't none of your business. Get your hand off me. Leave me alone. Go on. She need this to go away. She need this to die because she don't need him going and pushing up on Tariq and getting physical in this way that causes the whole thing to go to ish, right? But he decides, my mama stormed off and gave them marching orders. They marched to it. Nobody's listening to me. I'm finna go down here and make Tariq listen to me. So when he goes down to the school to see Tariq, he thinks he's in Tariq's room, but he walks up on Trace and Brayden wrestling, because Brayden is trying to express to Trace that this all of the drugs that he took out the secret hiding spot, I need them drugs back because this thing is bigger than you. But he can't tell him what's going on because it's supposed to be this secret. It just blows up in this crazy way where when Kane walks in and sees them wrestling, he wants to know where Tariq is. Trace is being your typical white boy, entitled white boy. Hey, bro, this is bro business here, and it's la familiar business, mind your business. And Kane is not with all that. He pulls his gun like, dude, say something else, please. I'm asking you. Say a syllable, huh? Drop a vowel out your mouth and see what I do. And Brayden, who is not like the most street savvy, still is like, everybody just breathe, just calm down. And, he's trying to calm Kane down by letting him know, hey, I'm a part of your team. Like, we're partners. Kane, are you Kane? You're Kane, right? Like, when he says his name, that is when everything just kind of goes to ish. It's no going back from this. Like, more people know my name than should know my name. Even though he's saying Kane's name to Kane, Trace hears it. Now, Trace knows the name. Now, Trace keeps bringing the name up, right? And so Kane makes a decision where he's going to frighten them in this really elaborate way. He gives them both bags of drugs and drops them both off in separate parts of town. And they have to sell the drugs. And they have to bring the money back. And if not, he's going to go pow on them. Now, Chase is like, look, see here, good sir, see here. I'm a Western, and I am, purebred and country club and tennis matches, and we don't get involved in illegal. And Brayden is like, if you don't shut the duck up, like, let me handle this. But Chase is continually treating Brayden like a little boy. And his punching bag, right? Same time, he don't really know what's going on, but Brayden's got a good idea of how south this can go. Now, he drops Brayden, Trace off, and Trace is just like, I don't know what to do. Which way do I go? And it's a cluster duck. drops Brayden off. Brayden, it makes friends with dudes that he meets, smokes up a blunt with the dudes that he meets, sells all the drugs, and this is like in 2.5 seconds, like a bag of drugs. These guys, after smoking a blunt, calls up their friends, enough friends to buy all of the drugs that Brayden has, makes a ton of money. They go back to get Trace. Trace is being accosted by two guys. You know, he's the whitest of the white. Like, he's standing out there like a bag of white lily flower, just waiting to be kicked, right? And he gets beat up, and Kane watches the whole thing go down. Although he's impressed with Brayden's skills, he knows that Brayden has got this weird family dynamic too, where he's kind of being whipped up on by his brother, and he kind of respects that in a sense because he's got his own sibling dynamic at home. Kane does, and so he lets the dudes beat up Trace a little bit, and then finally concedes and lets Brayden get out of the truck and go and save his brother. And we get to see this moment where on their way back, Trace is talking, still in this naive state, even though he's all beat to hell and that type of thing. Ramirez pulls them over. We know Ramirez is not only his mom's lover, he don't know, he suspects, but also he works for their family, their drug family he's a cop, but he's on their side, so to speak. I forget what you call that. Anyway. And then there's this conversation that happens where Kane pulls his balls out, Ramirez pulls his balls out, and then he references Lorenzo, Kane's daddy's balls, and how Kane is moving. Kane feels like this was the right decision. They had my name in their mouths. I had to show them. I had to scare them and let them know this is not a game. At the same time, Ramirez is like, yeah, exactly. This is not a game. You shouldn't have ever involved these two white dudes. He takes custody. Ramirez takes custody of both Brayden and Trace, puts him in the car, and sends Kane on his way. Now, mind you, I'm sure he immediately got on the phone and called Lorenzo and told Lorenzo what's up. He also told Monet. Monet is probably the one that sent him down there. Monet got eyes everywhere to get Kane and to pull Kane's leash, so to speak. Well, these scenes between Kane and Brayden and Trey and like Ramirez, these were some of the more riveting scenes, and it kind of put me in the mind of Kanan, right? Which I guess Kane is supposed to be like the Kanan character, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Brayden is supposed to be kind of like Tommy. Obviously, Tariq's supposed to be Ghost. Diana's supposed to be Tasha. Maybe Lauren is supposed to be Angela. Like, if we're trying to do these character comparison type things, right? In hierarchy type situations. So, but these are some of the more riveting scenes. I was getting a real Kane vibe. I was surprised no one got killed in this episode. Namely Trace, because I feel like if this had been Ghost and Tommy and this type of situation, Trace would have been dead, Riley would have been dead. Y'all already know, like, even if you had a slight suspicion between Tommy and James, you got dead. You got dead. Like dead, right? Like unrecognizably dead, right? But so Woody does a great job acting in this scene. Okay, so everything just sort of culminates to this point, into this heated family brawl between Monet and Drew and Diana and Kane. While Kane has all this going on, Drew and Diana's supposed to be down counting this money and counting these drugs and separate them. Their mama done took the phones. I think she gonna take the phones out with her and put them like in the outside or take them with her, period. But no, she takes the phone from them and puts them like right there on a shelf. And he keeps getting up and checking the phone, and Everett now wants to be bothered since it's alone time now. he wants to be bothered with Drew, and Drew is so smitten. Like he's so wet behind the ears in the game, or no, I won't even say that. He's so uninvested in his family business that he can't even finish doing his job and then leaving. He can't. This guy keeps calling him and he wants to go see him. Diana is telling him, no, don't, please don't do it. You know, I'm gonna tell mama gonna get you, mama gonna whip you, mama gonna beat you when she get home. You know, mama told you to put them clothes in the laundry and take that chicken out, and you ain't did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't do it if I was you. You gonna get a whipping, right? Plus, you're not gonna be able to go down to the Benevolence Center after this weekend. Like, it's real, you know. And of course, they have issues because she feels like he didn't take up for her with Kane, and he allowed Kane to believe that she had slept with Tariq, even though she's keeping his secret from Kane about being gay, and he basically lets her know, you know, she can handle her own self. You know, he's afraid. That's the gist of it, really. He takes off, goes down, and he's with Everett, and he lays with Everett, and he, you know, tries to have this moment with Everett when he's supposed to be working. Like, really, all hell is breaking loose, and in his family, in his life, but he's in this oblivious bubble of you know, sex and delusion that he's in somehow in this relationship with Everett. Like, and he wants Everett to come out and live out loud. Like, y'all only know each other for like 62 hours. Like, what is you talking about? Like 24, 48 hours maybe? He also discovers how in this moment, because Everett gets a package delivery from what's the name of Tariq's company, where he sends the papers over, and also, you know, drugs, how he's delivering the drugs on campus. And he discovers, you know, because Everett is getting a delivery, how they're moving the drugs. Diana, who stays put, her mom comes in and she talks her mom into letting her go back down to the college. It's like, one of my kids is lost. I sent one kid to go look for that kid. Now I got 2 kids lost, right? I'm not sending nobody else next time. I'm going, right? She goes down to get to Everett's room to get her brother out of the room. My mama said, you need to come home right now. And you know, he is slightly embarrassed, and Everett's like, I'm going to get in the shower. Apparently, you're in trouble with your mama. And they talk about, you know, this paper and how they're delivering the drugs with the college papers and stuff, and this is how they're doing. But he doesn't want his sister Diana to tell his mom Monet, because if she figures out how he's moving it, how Tariq is moving these drugs, she's not going to allow it. She's going to want to put the kibosh on it, and neither one of them will be able to come down to the school. Yes, like, this is the most important thing right now. Drew, you know what I'm saying? Like, at this point, Drew is the least trustworthy of all of them, only because he's being guided by his penis. And when you're being guided in this physical, overly emotional way, it never goes well, right? So obviously Diana sends him on his way. You need to go home. And she decides she's going to go talk to Tariq. They both supposed to be home in 2 hours. He opts to instead go and get in the shower with Everett. This is what I'm trying to say. This is what I'm telling y'all. Tariq has come to his room. He has found Riley there going through his things. They discover after calling Brayden's phone, that something has happened. Tariq, like I said, is aware. He notices that some things are disheveled in the room. Brayden's phone is there. He concludes in his own mind that something has happened to Brayden. He can't really fully think about it because she's there like a gnat, you know what I'm saying, like a fly in the ointment, and she keeps buzzing around. At the same time, Diana comes to the door because she wants him to know that she knows about this business that they have with the course correct. That's the name of the business that they have, and how he's pushing the drugs. And he says, just like Drew, don't tell Monet because she won't understand. At the same time, she wants to come in so they can talk and also kiss a little bit, because she keep trying to kiss him, but she keep getting interrupted. And she want to grind on him a little bit. She want them to roll around a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Drew going to get in the shower. She hoping to make out a little bit with Tariq, right? And she hears Riley in the room. She thinks it's Lauren. So out of spite to him, not only does she cuss him out and give him what for, but when she gets back home, she trades Tariq business for her as her save. She uses Tariq's business to save herself from really getting chewed out and punished by her mom. Like to say, I'm really working on your behalf, Mom. Although she's doing all of this and telling about course correct to Monet, because it's gonna help her out a little bit, right? Like, and she doing it out of spite because she feel like Tariq is messing with old bougie R's Lauren, right? So this is how it culminates. Drew finally comes home. Lauren beats him there. Diana beats him there, where she trades Tariq's business. Monet gets it. She was like, oh, that's smart. That's cool. That holds everybody accountable. Like, why wouldn't people think I didn't understand that? You know what I'm saying? Just because I gave birth and I have breasts and a vagina does not mean I don't understand complex plans. I don't know who y'all think y'all messing with. I'm not just bark, baby. I'm bite too, right? And she also, Monet, takes this moment to be moderately compassionate towards Diana. Diana is more of a relatable character to her because she's female too. I can be emotional with Diana. Even though she's giving us tough love, we don't see her hug or caress or call them babies or sugar or honey or sweetie pie. It is tough love. But here's a moment where she says, I'm tough on y'all because I'm afraid I'm losing y'all to this whole Stanford thing. I'm afraid that y'all gonna get hurt. I'm afraid that y'all gonna get caught slipping. This whole type of thing, this genuine fear. So Diana accepts it, and it's just like, I understand, I get it, Mama. Drew gets home. He gets sent on upstairs. She's already had a conversation with Ramirez, and she's learned about the Western boys, and she's learned that the Western boys cannot necessarily be touched because they are so lily white bread, that if something happens to one of them, like, it's going to bring the whole police force down on the whole situation. So they got to play it cool. She's pissed off because Kane has put them in this situation. But she's trying to tell Kane, when Kane comes in, she tries to chastise him. She tries to hold his feet to the fire. Now, he knows Ramirez has probably already talked to her. What he doesn't suspect is Ramirez has probably called his daddy too. What he doesn't suspect is the fact that she's probably called his daddy too, right? I already filled him in on the whole kidnapping, pimping, rescuing type situation. He is so angry and he is so adamant, and he's trying to explain himself. I did it for the family. I'm doing it for the good of the family. We had to show them. We have to show muscle. You're messing things up. You're taking people off the street. You making it harder on us. You giving Diana and Drew these jobs that they too lightweight to do, and you won't even listen to me. And Drew comes down and Diana come down, and they're just like down the steps. They're on the steps. He's at the foot of the steps, and right next to the steps is Monet. She right behind Kane, and Drew is talking and Diana's talking, and he's chastising. Kane is trying to tell everybody how they moving outside of him and how much he don't appreciate it, and he got sense too, and he trying to explain, and yeah, Mama, you messing it up, and I'm not gonna listen, and I don't even have, and he get loud and more belligerent and more angry. And at this time, Monet is trying to silence him. She's pulling at his chain, and she's pulling at his chain. And this dog is steady bucking. And she yanked that chain a little too hard. And he barks hard at her and lets her know, you don't tell me what to do, yada, 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 block, 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 hoo, 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 hoo. Ho, 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 ho. Right? comes on downstairs. It's like, hey, watch your tone with mom. And at the same time, she's steady pulling. So she's come to that chain and she's at that neck and she gives it one good hard yank. Like I said, shut the duck up, dog. And that dog turns around and says, okay, grabs her, slams her hard to the ground, baby. Okay, trying to get at his brother, trying to get him off of her, trying to getting his mama to stop pulling his chain. This dog is no longer able to be controlled. Like he has got in his head that he's not just dog, that he man too, and he got something to say. I walk on 2 feet, not 4. Okay, knocks her down to the ground. He realizes instantly this thing is gone out of control, and he reaches his hand down to give his mom a hand and to lift her up, and she knocks the hand away, and he storms out. Okay, when he storms out because he's got to get to his daddy's. He's got to get down to the jailhouse and talk to his father. Now Monet has already called, and she has already let them people know that he is, this is what happened, that he is out of control. When she looked up from being knocked hard on the ground, she looked at him like she didn't know him. That's because you raised him from a pup. And you think because you raised him from a pup and you let him eat and drink out of your hand that you have control of him. What you forgot is that deep down inside, the anger that is the dog it's being stoked. He's showing you that he's angry. He's confused. He doesn't have that guidance. He doesn't have that leadership. Same thing he told Ramirez, you can't be my daddy. But you ain't got no daddy out here to really show you how to do it. You ain't even got an uncle. The uncle you did had, you killed him dead because he was a snitch fresh out of jail. You ain't got no leadership here. So you go straight to your daddy and think you're going to explain to your daddy what your initial intent was, what your initial intent in how you moved was. And you going to tell him how your mama, Monet, is moving weird, moving funny, and it's not right. She not handling business properly. You think you can sit shoulder to shoulder, eye to eye with your dad and talk about how your mama doing things. Talk about how you handle things and all of this. And your dad is like, I get it. I understand. You don't have this leadership out there. I'm not out there to show you and guide you and tell you, don't worry. It's going to all be resolved. We're going to take care of it. And Cain, it feels like, okay, daddy, you understand. You on my side. And you going to go and you going to check mama. And now mama is going to respect me. His daddy give a look at the guard when he go out after he hug his son and send him on his way. And they walk him out and Cain out and get him on the elevator. When he realized in the elevator before he turned around that it's not one guard with him no more. It's 3 big, fat, giant muggaduggers. You know what I'm saying? Swole up in here, right? And at the moment he realizes, wait a minute. This is not, this about to be a brawl. Like this about to be a beat down. It's at that moment, hit across the jaw, belly blow, belly blow, belly blow. They push him up against the window. All that blood splatters out over against the window. Take him and slam him down hard and start booting him up, baby. Booting him up, kicking him up. He laying there with mouth full of blood and cracked teeth, baby. He been handled. And the doors open slowly and his daddy walk in and lean down as he leaning down there, coughing up blood, holding his side, trying to figure out. His daddy say, don't you ever put your hands on my wife again. You ain't coming between me and Monet. You ain't coming between me and Monet. But see, Monet had already told y'all, don't worry about her business. Y'all don't know what's going on with her. Y'all don't know how she moving. Y'all don't know all the ins and outs. Y'all don't know why she's handling y'all each individually the way she's handling y'all. Because Drew, it got his nose wide open. He easily led by the pen. And Diana is young and tender. You know what I'm saying? I don't want her to get devoured out here. And you the dog. You a bulldog. And if I'm not careful, you be out here biting asses and you be got impounded or shot dead out here in this street. You don't see how I'm moving. And the daddy is saying, I'm with your mama. Don't ever come here about your mama. I'm never going to side with you about your mama. Me and your mama in this thing together. We got to understand it. And she moving how I want her to move. Yeah, you ain't building no alliance with your daddy against your mama. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works, Cain. It's in this moment he comes to this realization. Now, what he's going to do with this, we don't know. We don't know. What we do know is it will probably be violent. It will probably be violent. Right? Huh? I'm interested in seeing if he's going to lean on Tariq during these perilous times, or if he's just going to flat out go rogue. Okay, so lastly, we get to see where Ramirez brings Brayden and Trace back to the school, and you know, Brayden once again has to get Trace to calm down, because basically Ramirez is going to let them go with a slap on the wrist. Basically, I'm just going to let y'all go and we never speak of this again. And Trace is like, no, sir, we need to press charges, yada, yada, yada. Like, he still doesn't get it. And Brayden thinks that he's handled that. But ultimately, I think Trace is going to end up getting handled. It's probably going to be in this really around the way annex type of way. Because he can't be trusted, and we all know it. You know, Brayden is just not there yet. He isn't afraid after he's been kidnapped and his brother's been mollywopped and he's had a gun put to his face and he's had to sell drugs on the street. He's more excited. He's more focused now, more than ever, on selling drugs and being this big drug kingpin and getting away from his family's money. You know, making money for his own self, making a name for his own self. And Tariq believes him, little foxes, that he's got his brother Trace under control. Okay, they don't even talk about the fact that Trace took those drugs, and the fact that they got to get them drugs back. Cain know that the drugs is gone and the money is short. Cain know, but Tariq don't know yet. Still little foxes, right? Tariq knows now that Monet knows about Course Correct, because she calls him and lets him know that Diana told her, which he said he suspected that she would. Obviously, she thought Lauren was in the room. It's spite. But him and Monet copacetic. Monet thinks it's brilliant plan, and she doesn't want any of the details. As long as the money keep coming in and the drugs don't get messed up, we Gucci. So, you know, this whole episode, I think, was a good episode for me. It's definitely more cohesive than the previous 5 episodes. We spent a bit more time with the characters that really matter. We didn't have all this professor sex and all these other filler scenes that just really weren't going anywhere. It wasn't a lot of time spent chasing Tariq from, you know, one time jump to the next time jump in scenes. For me, the MVP for this episode is Woody's character. It was some great acting on his part. I think of the student actors, like I said, the kids in the school, that acting scene, that was really, really good. Like I said about Tariq, you smart. My mom and them used to say, you so smart, you stupid, right? But the fall is how you learn what getting up is. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's going to have to be burned in order to get that experience. It's just that getting burned and these little foxes destroying ultimately the vine that he's trying to put in place could get his mama locked up, could get somebody killed, could, you know what I'm saying, go horribly wrong. A lot of stuff can go wrong while you learning, in training, right? But ultimately, I think this is the Tariq versus James, the good versus evil piece here. And there's still hope for Tariq to change. Like I said, he's not as emotionless as his dad was. And he definitely does not have the taste for violence or the propensity for violence like James did. So there's still some hope for Tariq. What did you guys think about the characters? What did you think about Monet, finally expressing some emotions that wasn't a bark? What did you guys think about Cain, you know, and this whole theory that he's this, you know, this rabid dog that needs to be controlled? Do you think there's a more emotional, a deeper level to Cain? Or like we saw with Tommy, like Tommy was a bit of a bulldog, but Tommy, you know, had some mental health issues too, and he was on them drugs real bad. We don't see that from Kane, but they definitely both have a hair trigger on their anger. What do you guys think about the whole good versus evil, Tariq versus James type perspective in this episode? How the scenes laid out? What do you guys think about that? A little bit more commentary. Do you guys think that Davis is ultimately working with Stacks for a win for himself, or do you think that they all setting Stacks up to be taken down, and for Tariq and for Tasha both to walk? Y'all tell me what you think. Y'all put it down below. And until next time, honeybees, I really hope you guys enjoyed this review. Mwah, mwah, mwah. I holla.